Hey, good morning, YouTube. This is the Eben Oracle here. Hey, I'm doing a request video this morning. On my last tarot reading video, in the comment section, somebody asked me if I would do a video on Ascension and what it is. Um, Thanks for the idea, Cosmic Space. It was a great idea. I should have done this video sooner, truthfully. I know there's a lot of information on YouTube about this subject, but it's such a big and expansive subject, and everybody experiences it in a different way that I figured, might as well put my story out there. It might resonate or connect with some people and, help them along their way, or just, it might be similar to what they've been through. Um, the definition in the dictionary of ascension is the act of raising to an important position or higher level. Um, to me, when we're talking about ascension on the spiritual level, ascension is the process of spiritual awakening that moves you into a higher level of consciousness. As you ascend, your vibrational frequency becomes higher. Um, this happens in stages. If you look up this information, you'll see a lot of people have a lot of different number of stages and put them in a different order. But truthfully, everyone's unique, and especially in their spiritual awakening or process, they're going to go through these symptoms possibly in a different order, have other steps or levels that some people didn't have to go through. I mean, some people just have spontaneous awakenings, and other people like me had to go through some terrible situations or traumatic situations that actually brought on the spiritual awakening or process of ascension. Um, a lot of people definitely speak of a dark night of the soul or ego death, and in my case, I definitely experienced that. After going through traumatic situation after traumatic situation, and um, kind of feeling lost, I definitely went through an ego death or a tower moment, it would be called in tarot, and that basically kicked off the whole process. The first step that I experienced in the process after the initial ego death happening or dark night of the soul um, was the awakening of the mind. And the awakening of the mind is basically having a sudden epiphany or understanding or enlightenment of your perspective on life and how things work. And it can come on very suddenly and hit you really hard. And it's kind of a funny story. I was actually up at like 3 in the morning sitting out in my car smoking weed, of all things, and I just had this sudden hit of understanding that energy and consciousness were two sides of the same coin, and that everything was vibrating energy moving around in a field. And it was very strange to me because these are not usual type of thoughts that I had. Usually I was thinking about some pretty low vibrational things, you know. But anyways, this epiphany hit me like super, super hard. And after it hit me for like the first week, every time I thought about it, that we're all one, that we're part of this collective consciousness, and consciousness and energy were the same thing, and we're basically everything around us, matter, ourselves, our soul, everything is energy, and it's all interconnected from one source. Having that experience of oneness with the universe and understanding that my place in the universe is to be connected to everything, it every time I thought about it, I would literally start crying. I'd break down crying. And it wasn't crying like in a sad way. It was crying like being totally in shock and awe of this understanding that just hit me out of nowhere, just hit me out of the blue. And actually, for uh, a little while afterwards of having this epiphany, life and reality started actually physically looking different to me. I started being able to see the energy fields around everything. I started being able to see people's auras, or their personal energy field, and it was so amazing and so beautiful to me that every time I'd have those type of experiences, it was just overwhelmingly emotional. I know not everybody is going to go through such an intense epiphany that kind of it is their awakening of the mind, but I believe that to a lesser degree or maybe even a higher degree, everyone in their spiritual awakening goes through some type of awakening of the mind and understanding of oneness and universal energy or collective consciousness. You can call it many different things, or even God. I mean, everybody has their own personal or cultural views on what they believe and what they think that is part of their thought process, and none of it's wrong. I would say that even though this is a highly talked about subject on YouTube, that because it varies so widely depending on the person, the culture, their understanding of things, how deep they understand things. I don't think you can put out enough information on this. And honestly, probably all the information that you're getting from genuine people talking about their personal firsthand experience is valid. So anyways, if I say these things out of order and it doesn't sound like it matched up exactly with what happened with you or what you heard from somebody else, it doesn't make it any less true. There's many truths in this reality, and there's an overall absolute truth, which I think is just a little bit too much out of our grasp because infinity's pretty big and our mind can't quite grasp that. But there's a lot of relative truths that might be relatively true to each individual or circumstance. Let's see here. Oh, after I had that epiphany and I could see energy fields and all that stuff, after a few weeks, that overwhelmingness of the whole situation kind of slowed down a bit. But after it slowed down, I started having a lot of synchronicities start happening. And those synchronicities started off as repeating numbers. I'll back it up for a second. In case you don't know, a synchronicity is a meaningful coincidence. And once those meaningful coincidences start happening more often than not and happening too many times to be coincidence, or it's beyond the realm of mathematical possibility at a point to where it's not a coincidence. And that's when you start really paying attention to them and realizing that these repeating numbers you're seeing, these symbolic animals or insects that might keep reappearing to you, like butterflies, hummingbirds, crows, owls, eagles, hawks. It can be any number of different things that all have a spiritual symbology to them that means something personal to you. And these are your spirit guides and higher entities trying to get your attention. It also, you start thinking of things you don't even talk to with anybody else or say out loud. And then you'll start noticing in the reality around you, coincidentally, those things that you were thinking of just happen to pop up. Then it really reinforces that idea of oneness and that everything is really mental or consciousness. And you start realizing that all these little synchronicities start fitting together like pieces of a jigsaw puzzle and start giving you a much bigger, broader idea of the way the universe works and what's going on here. And that really can be almost a whole nother epiphany or reiterate the epiphany that you already had of oneness. And it can be an amazing thing. To me, it was overwhelmingly awe-inspiring and beautiful. The second part of my step in my ascension process or spiritual awakening was the awakening of a new personality. You know, it happened slowly over time, but it got to a point where I didn't recognize myself anymore. I was a completely different person than I ever had been in the past. It started off slowly, but to start with, I was pretty low vibrational. I was smoking weed nonstop, watching mindless TV, not spending any time outside in nature, um, arguing with people, drinking, popping pills, just all low vibrational stuff you do when you're miserable and you don't really have an understanding of what this life is all about and what your higher purpose is. Um, I started thinking a lot different about life. Watching TV and numbing myself to, the reality around me stopped being appealing. I slowly quit weed, quit pills, quit drinking, stopped trying to deal with toxic people, toxic situations, low vibrational energy. And I started getting into things like gardening or going on walks or hikes in nature, um, meditating. And all these things were completely foreign to me. It was nothing like how my personality was before this process started. Um, it even got to a point one time where I was like thinking back, like, man, what the hell happened? All the stuff that used to bother me before, the stuff I used to think was important, it just doesn't bother me anymore. It's not important to me anymore. And I actually got on the phone with one of my friends. I'd been doing a bunch of research into kind of, spirituality and what the hell's going on with me, because I felt like, shit, am I going crazy here? Well, this is a total trip. And I called my friend up, who I'd known for a decade or so, and I asked her, I go, do you remember how I used to be? Do you, do you see a change in me? And then she definitely said that she had seen a change in me. But I got to the point where I even asked her, do you think it's possible I'm a walk-in soul? And for those who don't know out there, a walk-in soul is when somebody's soul or spirit is damaged so much through trauma they can't go on, that soul leaves the body and a new soul comes in, almost like your tag teammate. He jumps in and still has all your same memories of this lifetime, but he continues in the body because there's still lessons to be learned, within this particular existence. Um, I still sometimes question if I had a walk-in soul moment or walk-in soul experience, because my personality change was so drastic. It was, it's hard to even explain. If you didn't know me from before and you knew me now, you would literally think, like, is this the same person? I mean, I don't even look the same physically. Like, I physically changed, mentally changed, emotionally changed, spiritually changed. So I almost feel that I'm not the same person. And anyways, another part of this process of changing my personality or awakening of a new personality was me actually changing my spiritual views or religious beliefs. I had a pretty traditional Christian idea of spirituality, and the dogma of it seemed to start bothering me. And I had a lot of questions that couldn't be answered inside that tradition. So I kind of rejected that tradition and started moving along in search of answers for myself. And then I got into the third part of my ascension process or spiritual awakening, which was the awakening of spiritual energy. It has many different names. Some people call it Kundalini, some people call it Chi, Some people call it prana, some people call it the Holy Spirit, but really it's just the life force that flows through you and around you and everything around you. And, you know, one day when I was meditating, all of a sudden I had this, it felt like I got shocked with like a huge surge of electrical energy. It just went from the base of my spine all the way up through my body, out the top of my head, all the way to my fingertips. And it was like this tingly electrical sensation that was like almost overwhelming. I thought I was going to pass out. And at first, it scared the crap out of me. I didn't know what the hell it was. I was like, holy shit, is there something wrong with me here? I've never experienced that before. But then I started doing more research into it and hearing other people's experiences about it on YouTube and other sources, books, Google, you know. And anyways, as I started changing my diet, eating better, and meditating more often, I would get these jolts of Kundalini energy more often. And it got to a point where I almost became sort of addicted to it because it was this amazing feeling that I never felt before. So I wanted to meditate all the time to try to get that feeling. Along with that feeling, I also started having other symptoms, like I'd be having over the top energy. You know, I had more mental focus, more drive to do things. I felt a real spike in my intuitive nature and just knowing. I almost felt like a sense of claircognizance or being tapped into the Akashic records. I started knowing things that I had never learned before or never been taught before. And it was a very strange feeling. And then also there were some negative, you know, symptoms or side effects that went along with that that Kundalini energy. And some of those were, some days I'd feel so drained and tired, I didn't want to get out of bed. It would sometimes mess up my appetite. I wouldn't want to eat. Started having insomnia, anxiety, depression, you know, so it was like this back and forth nature between the good and positive symptoms and negative symptoms of this energy awakening. And over time, they pretty much evened out. And I started being able to control this Kundalini or Chi or Prana, whatever you want to call it, more or less. You know, I can't totally control it, but more or less I was able to start controlling it. And that brings me into my fourth stage of ascension or awakening. And this is the awakening of the soul. It's basically, to me, it's experiencing your true self or your inner self through being in touch with spirit guides, your higher self, source, the universe. It comes with a lot of introspection, and really, to me, it's kind of like you looking for your higher purpose, you looking for your soul purpose. I feel like that's pretty much the stage that I'm stuck on right now, is, you know, trying to find out what my true purpose is and actually be able to materialize it in this reality and do my higher purpose, you know, fulfill my destiny, what I was created and put here to do. To me, the last stage in the ascension process is just full-blown ascension. And to me, you know, I know everybody has a lot of different ideas on what it is, but to me, full-on ascension is you stepping into your power, doing your higher purpose, and making that your life's work. And, you know, I know a lot of people think it's something different, but to me, in my opinion, doing your higher purpose, doing your soul purpose, what you were sent here on a mission to do, that to me is true ascension. And there's a lot of other things that come along with that, but I don't have firsthand experience of that step yet, so I can't really elaborate on it too much. Anyways, I hope this video was helpful to anybody out there who's going through the ascension process or the process of spiritual awakening. I'd really appreciate if you would smash that like button, comment, share, subscribe. you know, I'm trying to build this channel up so I can get my information out to more people. And if you guys have any ideas for videos or ideas for things you want to hear about from me, put it in the comment section and I'll make a video for you. Thanks again, Cosmic Space, for the great idea for this video. And oh, anyways, one other thing. If you guys want to get a personal tarot reading, you can go to my email below, listed below this video, and you can email me, and I'll hit you back, and we can, you know, set up a personal reading if there's something you need clarity on, a question you have, or just like the entertainment value of tarot readings. Anyways, guys, this is the Eben Oracle. Have a great day. Peace out.